Another edition of the On the White podcast is here, and just a few weeks away from Bellator 299. It's one of my favorite events of the year every time. It's Bellator in Ireland, and you're welcome, Ireland, because they're bringing one of the most exciting fighters in the entire sport, Sabah Homasi. Sabah, welcome back to the show. How's this year been going for you, man?
It's going great, man. Didn't start off on the right foot. Felt good leading up to the fight with Brennan Ward. But ran into some issues a week before the fight, but that's something that I'll go public with after this fight, September 23rd.
Yeah, and it was a great fight. I know, obviously, not the outcome you wanted, and obviously we just saw Brennan, take on Logan Storley in a top contender fight. It seems like the division business is starting to pick up. Things are moving along here. So this fight on September 23rd, what's your outlook on what this fight can do for you in terms of getting back to the top of the division?
Well, this guy's obviously, he's not in the rankings, and so he's coming from my spot. So I got to put a halt to that real quick. I just got to go out there and be on my game, be on point, be sharp, not get hit with any of his big shots, comes in, throw some loopy punches and whatnot. And, this guy's not going to want to stand with me, so I know he's going to be looking for a takedown. Two of my teammates fought him prior, so I know he likes to use the Uchimata and stuff like that, but
I'm sure that also helps the preparation. Obviously, having two teammates have fought him already. But I do want to go back, and I don't want to, just stay in the past. But was there anything you were able to take away on a positive side from your fight against Brennan Ward? I know you said you have some stuff you'll talk about after this fight, but were there any positives you could take out of it? Because one of the best fights of the year, if not the fight of the year. It's just an incredible war.
Yeah. It was definitely a war. It lived up to the expectations. That's for sure. You put in two guys that come in to fight, and that's the outcome that you're going to get. What can I take? Taking away things from it. Not really. Didn't really take anything away from it. I just get back into the gym and work on improving as a fighter, as a mixed martial artist. I look to get better every single time I'm in the gym. Pick up new information. And drill it over and over again to where it becomes just second nature. I don't got to think about doing it. It just happens naturally. So
as far as the schedule for you this year, is this kind of just how things were going on behind the scenes? This is where, how everything lined up, or did you want to have a gap after that Brennan Ward fight? How was the schedule for you?
No, absolutely not, man. I wanted to get in there, and we contacted Bellator. My manager Brian contacted Bellator in March, I believe, or April, and we told them, hey, we want to fight, and they didn't book us until September 23rd. So I knew about this fight coming up like 4 months in advance. So I was like, there's nothing sooner they can get me on. Like, what's going on here? But it is what it is, and these are my best years. I'm in my prime right now. And if I only fight twice this year, this would be the fourth year in a row that I only fought twice. So I'm kind of like, it's like, I need more than 2 fights a year,
Right. Absolutely. And I think the world needs more Sabah Homasi fights more than twice a year. The division needs it. You need it. The world needs it. So I'm definitely on track with you there. So safe to say, obviously, what would be ideal for 2024? 3, 4, maybe more?
3 minimum, 3 minimum. And depending on what kind of shape I'm in, if can't predict the future, but if I have any injuries or stuff like that, obviously those are setbacks. But as long as I'm healthy and I'm in shape, I would like minimum 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I continue to say, I think everyone wants to see you in there fighting more often. Like you said, 4 straight years of 2 fights. It's definitely not enough. I know, and it's not where you want to be at this stage in your career. Like you said, these are your prime years. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about your opponent. This environment, and it's just me talking, not everyone saying this, but just me talking. I love these Irish events, the Bellator Dublin events, and just being when they're over there in Ireland. Are you excited to go in there into the arena and feel that energy, that crowd? It's going to be on fire.
I definitely am, man. I definitely am. I'm that excites me. It excites me to go out there and put on a great performance, and I have to like try to hold myself back a little bit and not feed into the crowd and become one with them and get my heart rate fucking through the roof before I'm about to go in and scrap. So I just got to keep myself calm, just take in that energy and use it in the fight, you know?
In a calculated and measured way, though, that does bring a little more emphasis to you once you're inside the cage and you're standing across your opponent, does it not?
Sure. Want to go fucking crazy, you know? Makes me want to go out there and fucking, you know, it's like I said this in my prior interviews, you know, before you. It's like I don't go looking for things, you know. If you go looking for things in fights, they never come about. So I just go in. If I go in and fight my fight, I'm heavy-handed, man. I land big punches. It's going to be a short night for you. And it's you know, a lot of people look at me as a knockout artist. It's like, yeah, because most of my wins come by knockout, but I got a ground game too, you know. So my predictions are for this fight, I'm winning this fight by knockout or submission. You know, either or, whatever he gives me, I'm going to take it.
You're gonna get a finish, and is that something you would like to show more of? Because I've always, in the few times that I've talked to you, I've always said how exciting you are, and it's something everyone says about you, and you know, fans, media, everyone alike. They compliment just how heavy-handed you are, and just some of your highlight reel finishes. But would you like to show more of that ground game and show just how well versed as a martial artist you are?
Man, I like knocking motherfuckers out, man. I like putting these hands on. I like using my hands, and but of course, it's mixed martial arts, and I can't predict what's going to happen in the fight and where we end up. But if we end up in positions where if a submission falls in my lap, I'm going to take it, you know. And that's the same thing with a knockout. It's like you don't go looking for it. You're not, and that's what I'm learning to do. Is not every punch is going to be a power punch. I'm going to set these up so where I see the power punch, like that's going to deliver and it's going to land and it's going to fucking hurt, you know. So that's what I plan on doing.
I know you said your opponent coming up here on September 23rd, he'll be looking to take your ranking. But as I also mentioned, you know, the division is moving and you want to protect that ranking. But how do you feel about where things are moving in the division? I know they just announced Bellator 301 for November in Chicago. The belt's on the line. Jason Jackson will compete for it against Amoslov. But where do you feel, or how do you feel about how the division is moving right now?
I think it's moving in the right direction. You know, I think Jason Jackson is definitely deserving of a title shot. Um, and then for the rest of the division, I feel like, you know, a lot of guys in the top five aren't very active. You know, like MVP. What's the guy's name? He's Brazilian. It's like Yamauchi or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the rankings right here, actually. So we've got Logan, we've got Jason, Venom Page, Goda Yamauchi, yep, Neiman Gracie, Douglas Lima, Brendan Ward, Larkin, and then yourself.
Yamaguchi, like these guys, like there's a lot of inactive guys, and I don't know why. You know, why are they inactive? Why aren't these fighters fighting? You know, and but that comes to also back to square one with me. It's like 4 years in a row fighting 2 times a year. It's like I don't know. That's not on my end, and I don't have an understanding of it, so I don't have an answer for you. You know, this is something obviously with Bellator, and maybe it's the amount of shows that they're putting on. I couldn't tell you. You know, there's a lot of things that come into play here. But you know, leading up to this, it's like, and at the same time, you don't know what's happening with the company. You know, there's a lot of rumors going around with them and PFL, and who's to say what's going to happen? You know, everyone's in limbo.
I know you've done other interviews outside of me, so I'm sure you've been asked this already. Do you have thoughts on these future rumors? Would you like to see the two companies, PFL and Bellator, merge and put on
No,
more events per year?
no, I don't. I think that's a terrible idea. I think it's a very bad idea. You know, it's like if you remember back in the day when UFC was buying out organizations.
Yeah.
Take a look at what happened. Now you have how many fighters are there in the world? When you shut down a promotion and then you cut a big portion of its roster, now you have a bunch of unemployed fighters. You know, now these guys are free agents and they have nowhere to go. Who's going to take you? Now, more organizations, you have room for these fighters to compete and make money. If you go ahead and you close down Bellator's doors, the rumor is that they're going to cut 80% of the roster and 20% is going to move on to PFL. What's going to happen to the 80% that gets released, you know? And that's something, and PFL is another organization that they only do tournament style fights. It's like, why don't they put on regular fights, you know? Why don't they have Okay, you want to do a $1 million tournament? Sure, go ahead. But also have regular fights. Have a champion of that weight class that has to defend his belt. Have a ranking system. Like it just doesn't. The way that they run things over there is that's not in my control either. But it's different than what happens in the UFC, what happens in Bellator, what happens in Risen and all the other promotions, One FC, and all that stuff. It's like I'm not saying don't do it, but keep your fighters active. It's like let's say someone's in PFL and they're in the tournament and they lose. They fight one time and they lose. They're out of that tournament and they're not fighting until next year. So now that fighter fights once a year, until the next season to potentially go ahead and win 3 fights and become the champion of the weight class. I don't know. It just doesn't.
I mean, I agree. I agree 100% with you because I mean, right now, Bellator, we've seen that, right? We've seen the Grand Prix, and we've also seen events with champions and a ranking system. Everything that you're talking about. I've said repeatedly since the rumor started, if they were to merge, my only thoughts, and I have no control over this, and my word doesn't matter, but if you want to do tournaments, do tournaments. They're doing exactly how Bellator's been doing it. Put on events and then continue tournaments on the same event as other champions. Why not have, a women's featherweight championship fight and then a men's lightweight tournament? Like you can do all of that at the same night. So I definitely agree with you. But that also kind of leads up to where we're at here at Bellator 299, right? I know Scott Coker said, I believe about a month and a half ago, he went on Jimmy Smith. He's expecting the end of this year and 2024 to be a good year because obviously you don't want to speak too soon on rumors. But now it's time for fighters like yourself and everyone on the card at Bellator 299 to make a statement like, my career is not over. I don't care about what's happening in the future. I'm going to fight on one of the very best in the world. And we can talk about rankings and titles and divisions, but isn't this an opportunity for you to really remind the world of not only who you are, but you're ready to go?
For sure. Absolutely. That's how I'm looking at it, and this comes down to the fact that I got to take it day by day. I can't be worried about what's happening with the company right now with a fight coming up. I can't sidetrack and lose focus of what's ahead of me. And what's ahead of me is the fight against Levin on September 23rd. So, and this guy's coming from my spot, and I don't know what's happening, and I got to show him, hey, look, he's coming. I'm a veteran, I got a lot of fights, I've trained with killers in the gym. I fought killers. Like this guy's tough. Levin's tough. I'm better. I'm a better striker. I'm a better wrestler. I'm a better grappler, and he's gonna see that on Saturday night.
I cannot wait. Dublin, Ireland, Sabah Homasi. Hope we can talk after this fight. I always really enjoy talking to you, man. You always get me fired up just by conversation. Then I go out and watch your fight, man. I don't need to tell you this. The crowd's going to be drunk by the time you fight. So it's going to be rowdy. It's going to be crazy. Bellator 299, Sabah Homasi, thank you so much. And like I said, hope we can talk after your fight.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.